All right, so we've gone through the first two levels of bags I usually pack or I carry, that being the get home bag or my everyday carry bag and the 72-hour bag or classic grab bag. So now we're going to talk about the final bag in my list of bags, and that is the I.N.C.H bag or the I'm never coming home bag. Now this is the big one. This is much larger in scale and has a lot more in it. This is the kind of bag that I would grab if I'm expecting to be over 3 days away from any sort of solid location or my home, anywhere up to about 3 weeks or 3 months even. So it is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not I'm never coming home, it's just I'm not coming home for a long time, but the acronym for that didn't sound as good, so I'm never coming home bag. Now the way I like to think about this bag, or at least the way I describe it to most people, is that it's my camping light backpack. Yes, I could load up my car, could take heavy tents, a whole heap of food, a whole heap of other tarps and things like that, all types of equipment. But this is more, what if I was going to trek through the wilderness on a backpacking tour for 2, 3, 4 weeks? What sort of things would I want on me? What if I was going to set up a camp somewhere and stay there for an extended period of time? So that's what I'm thinking about when I'm packing this pack. Essentially, it's pretty much the same as a multi-day or even a multi-week trekking pack. Now it has all the elements of the previous packs that I've talked about. So it's got shelter, it's got first aid, it's got food, it's got water, it's got security, it's got navigation, it's got communication equipment, but everything now is just ratcheted up to the next level. In fact, to go any further beyond this, I would really need to start thinking about having a vehicle in order to transport all these things around. So as an example of the kind of situation that I might be thinking of using this in, this could be like probably a bigger natural disaster type scenario where I have to leave my home and I don't know how long I'm going to be away. Maybe I'm going to set up a camp in the wilderness for an extended period of time, or even just going to a friend's house, but they don't have enough room in their house. So I'm going to bring my own shelter and some of my own goods in order to ease the burden on them. With everything we're doing, we're always trying to be more of an asset than a liability. That's why we prepare. So without any further ado, let's pull this pack apart and have a look at what I keep in my I.N.C.H bag. Here we have the I.N.C.H bag, or my camping light bag. This should have everything in it for, as I was saying, an extended stay somewhere. This is a fairly substantial backpacking pack. This one here is an Osprey pack. Osprey is definitely a brand that I recommend. They make very well made packs. Everything about it is usually pretty sturdy. I like their stitching, I like their design features, I like their frames that they use. This one's got a slightly external frame, so it keeps the pack off your back and allows air to get in. So starting up the top, light sources. So I have here a rechargeable lantern, and I also have another emergency lantern in here as well. Again, this one's solar powered and this one's got red light on it. Good for tents and things like that. Poo tickets, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, hand sanitizing wipe, all that good sort of toiletry stuff. On the side here too, I've got a whole bunch of tools on the outside here. Trowel, because that goes with the toilet paper, and I'm sure you can figure out what I'm actually talking about there. Folding saw, or this one's a sliding saw, and that's just a handy little handsaw for cutting small limbs off trees, shaping up pieces of wood. Very good for campcraft, creating poles and things like that. Fixed blade knife, very substantial sort of knife. And as you can see, quite weighty. It's actually got holes in it so you can attach it and use it as a spear to a piece of wood, and a sharpener in there as well. Hatchet. So some form of hatchet, doesn't need to be as fancy as this one, but very good for campcraft again. On the other side here, what I've got is a camping tent. So this is a hiking tent. This one's from Mount Designs. It's a 2-person tent. This bottom part here I keep for all my sleeping equipment. So I would have my sleeping bag in here, but I keep my sleeping bag stored somewhere else. So it's not bundled up. It's a down sleeping bag, which has advantages and disadvantages, but a down sleeping bag should be left not out totally, but in a large stuff sack so it can air out. I've got here a sleeping mat, so that's a little inflatable sleeping mat, and in there I've got a little hand pump to pump it up. A inflatable pillow. Well, sleep can be a very important thing. Don't skimp out on things like pillows and mats and things like that. I mean, this is also going to keep you warmer. A good night's sleep could be the difference between you just having a normal, okay day and slipping, cutting yourself with a knife, or just having a terrible time out there. Kitchen sink. So this is a foldable bucket that turns into like a little kitchen sink you can fill with water. This is a pocket shower. So again, this unfolds, you fill it with water and you hang it somewhere, and it can even heat up in the sun, and then you can give yourself a little bit of a shower. And then things like wilderness wash or some form of soap, little pocket soap. Something to wash my hands, something to wash maybe dishes and things like that. Hygiene can be very important. I've got lengths of paracord as well in here. Sometimes I take rope depending on what I'm doing, but at the very least I'll take some sort of cordage so that I can hang up things like tarps. Okay, in the top of the pack, more first aid kits. So as I said, everything is the same as what I would have in the other packs, just turned up a little bit more. So another bigger first aid kit, and then another what I call coughs, colds and sore holes. So the most common things that can go wrong. So there's antiseptic cream, there's bandages, there's band-aids, there's all sorts of like little drugs and paracetamol and things like that. A couple more bandages, gauze, toilet paper, Vaseline, lip balm, freeze stuff for getting rid of ticks. All the things that are most likely to happen when I'm out in the Australian bush. Another Baja bag filled with more clothes. So in this one, I've got more thermals, socks, jocks, I've got pants, I've got a shirt, rain jacket of some sort in here as well. This is a microfiber towel. You can use this for a whole heap of different reasons, primarily as a towel. We are going to want to wash when we're out there. Food. So again, packing more food in here, more protein bars, more freeze-dried meals, and with the idea that I'm probably going to cook this up. So the ability to cook now is starting to get added to the packs because I'm thinking I'm staying there longer. So we're thinking about little gas stoves. This is my minimal one. They get heavier and bigger from here on in, but this is the smallest one that I carry around. So just some sort of fuel source, the butane fuel, and then stove top that attaches to that. A lighter to light it and to light fires. And then I've got this tin that I can actually cook in, so that sleeve actually comes off it. That can sit there. You can grab onto that with this little silicone glove, cook in that, then even put it into that and hold hot things while it's in there. And a spork as well, always handy. More ways to store water as well. So this is a 10-litre bladder. Fill that with water. Survival kit. I've usually got this somewhere on the outside of the pack. So if I had to ditch the pack and I could just stick that in one of my pockets, usually a cargo pocket or maybe a smaller bag, but that is an emergency survival kit. So that has cordage, water purification tablets, ways to start fire, ways to collect water, a couple of little bandages, ways to attract attention, fishing line, Condi's crystals, matches, mirrors, all that sort of, classical survival gear. Fire starting kit. I am going to want to start fires. So a little bit of redundancy, got more Bic lighters. There is a fire starter in here, or I could put another flint and steel in here. Cotton balls, great for starting fires. Fire starter logs. So these are wood chips that are imbued with wax. Very handy for starting fires. Repair kit, especially if you're going to be somewhere for a long time, this can come in very handy, and especially if you're under arduous circumstances that you really need to start thinking about taking some form of repair kit like this. So this has a little folding knife, has a multi-tool in it. It's got different types of tape. So I've got electrical tape, I've got gaffer tape, zip ties in here. I've got different types of glue. So seam glue can be used on shoes. I've got things to patch up tents, I've got things to patch up sleeping equipment, and I've got super glue in there as well. All the sort of things that I might need to fix while I'm out in the bush. Something you may want to consider, again, this is not necessary, but just a form of communication, I guess, in that it's one-way communication. This is an emergency radio. This one here is called the Scorpion 2. You can track weather bands, you can listen to the radio, it has a solar charger on top, got a flashlight on it, and it's got a hand crank on it as well. So this is by a brand called Eaton, E-T-O-N. They make good gear, they make good emergency radio gear. And of course, water. So we want to think about how we're going to get clean water, fill things like our reservoirs. So this here is one of the larger life straw systems. Fill this reservoir with water and hang it up off a tree. You plug this in and it filters out the water, and it's got a little drainage system so it actually cleans out the unclean part of it, and then after that you get fresh clean water coming out of it. That covers off most of the basics. We've got some form of first aid. We've also got hygiene when it comes to first aid that we need to consider in a camp setup when we're going to be there for an extended period. We've got lighting, we've got forms of communication in here, we've got food, we've got water, we've got repair kits, we've got things for working in and around wilderness areas or campsites, and maybe even some form of security against the zombie hordes if we need it. This isn't extensive by any stretch of the imagination. If I'm actually going camping, there are a few things I add in here. I probably have more food when I'm doing a through hike or going backpacking. But as a basic sort of look at things, this is essentially what I would put in an inch bag. So it's all the things I need to set up a camp. So there you have it, that's my inch bag. As I said, it has all the elements of the other bags, all those survival type things that we need, just everything taken up to the next level. Obviously, this can and should be catered to your own personal situation. So you need to look at what you actually need from a pack, what sort of things you're going to need to be taking with you, what sort of situation you're going to be and what you're actually preparing for, and then build your pack or packs accordingly. So if it's more likely that you're going to be going out bush, then you might want to have more bushcraft type equipment in there. If you're more likely to be in and around people, maybe some sort of like refugee situation, maybe bartering type equipment might be better. Or if you have particular skills that you can utilize, then you might want to think about packing things like that too. So it could be hunting or fishing, it could be sewing or repairing something. These sort of things you might want to think about putting into your pack as well. But whatever you are putting in your pack, make sure that you do check off on the essentials of survival. So you've got those things that are going to help you survive. So just remember first aid, you want shelter, you want water, you want food, and you want some way to sort of secure yourself as well. A big thing to think about with these packs too is trying to avoid buying stuff to just put in the pack and then storing that pack away. So all my packs are working packs. I utilize them. This inch bag, for example, is my hiking pack. It is my camping pack. I do use this stuff quite regularly. It's not like it just gets stuffed in a corner somewhere and forgotten about. And it's the same with my 72-hour bag, which goes out to tasks with me whenever I'm working out and around the world, and my EDC or my get home bag, which is my everyday carry bag. It's the bag I take everywhere. These are actual functioning, working bags that I use all the time. If there's anything that you think that I forgot in this pack or any of the packs that I've gone through in this 3-part little series that I've put together, then let me know. If you've got any questions about anything that I've put in here, any of the brands of equipment that I recommend, any of the types of things that I use, then again, just chuck it up there and I'll try and get that answered as soon as possible. Some form of disaster striking your life isn't really a question of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. It's just different scales of disaster. So all of us will experience some sort of disaster at some stage in our life, and it behooves us to be more prepared for these sort of things. It's that level of preparedness that we put into our lives that can be the difference between us being an asset or us being a liability. Remember to stay safe out there, and Semper Paratus.